I broke up, or my business partner and I broke up in the business, so I bought him out of his equal share partnership. That's always a little bit tricky at getting towards the end, like any relationship. What does your friend do? Oh, he's a gardener, or he's a plumber, or he's a computer scientist. Okay, that's okay. And the reason why I'm asking is obviously, what do they actually know about that area being a good area to buy in? Have they talked about your financial situation? Do they know your serviceability? Do you even have a strategy?
Hey, welcome to the show, Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. This is Coach James Short, aka Shorty. And this is a show for those within the real estate industry wanting to lead and grow their real estate business. It's a series of interviews that we conduct for those within the industry. So we're finding out what those leaders are within the industry, what makes them tick, what's their story, what are their strategies, and how to become the leaders and the growers within the industry. But also it's an interview series with those outside of the industry. I'm always a big believer of looking at a whole different part of the pie rather than just focusing on one part of the pie. Because what it does, it allows you to have a different perspective, allows you to get snippets or golden nuggets from those outside of the industry that can look in the industry and go, there's a different perspective. And so I encourage you to reach out to the guests. I encourage you to lean into these series to find out how can these pieces of information, experiences, stories help you lead and grow your real estate business. Fantastic. And welcome back to another edition. It's an honor and a privilege to have this amazing guest back again. Julian from Search Party Property, the award-winning property buyers agent delivering 2,000 plus returns since 2018. This guy is a mover and shaker. Over $525 million worth of properties purchased, 500 plus happy clients nationwide, 80 plus property market metrics analyzed, and 17 plus key Australian markets. Now, go over and make sure you follow his show, which is Invest Smarter, Grow Faster. He's got some amazing guests on the show, so make sure you subscribe to his channel to get the latest and the greatest of information investing tips. It's an honor and a privilege to have Julian back on the show. Mate, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, James. That's quite an introduction. I appreciate that. It's good to catch up with you again. It's been a while, so it'd be nice to catch up and see where I've been, where have you been, and talk a bit more about property.
So it's been a little while. We had a little chat offline before, but tell us what's been happening over the last little while, the last 6 to 12 months for you, and what are you noticing out there?
Yeah, quite a bit in the business, I guess, and personally. The business has done very well in the last 12 months. That's a big plus. A little bit of personal. I broke up, or my business partner and I broke up in the business, so I bought him out of his equal share partnership. That's always a little bit tricky at getting towards the end, like any relationship, but I think we did it as well as we possibly can, which is good. And the business has continued to flourish since that the team's all together, brought in some new team members. It's always nice to bring in some new knowledge and different ways of looking at things. But the beginning of the year, James, was a bit tough. Ended last year really well, even going after we got through the partnership side of things, which was November, I think. Ended the year well, but January, February, March, April was really slow, which I didn't expect because that's generally not the case. Year after year, if we're into our 7th year, heading to 8th year, you know the cycles as much as possible. Property market is cyclical, but the growth, the busy cycles, and normally people are on holiday, so they're flicking around on Facebook and not doing much. So they tend to book in for a call in mid-January to February. So we get pretty busy on the phones, and then people start signing up. So February gets busy, and March and April start to fund the deals. But that didn't happen this year. So the election kicked in. Everyone's a bit nervous, Labor, Liberal. Sometimes there's a little bit of hot air about the negative gearing, which always Labor likes.
It's always a topic that comes up.
It always comes up. Last time they lost an election on it, they didn't talk about it much this time. But I think people are just nervous. I'll just wait till election, see what happens. As we both know, nothing happened, but it's the nature of the beast. And then I'm not sure if you remember, James, but April was a terrible month for all small business because I think you could take 2 days annual leave and get 10 days off work.
Correct.
Probably backing on, was it Easter and Anzac Day, I think, correct?
That's right. That's the one.
So basically, you've got another really short month to make money. So look, it is, we're all in the same boat. And that was a little bit but I didn't plan for that, really injected some money into the business. Like I said, hired some really experienced and great people. And being a quiet time, obviously, I've increased my costs by quite a lot, but didn't get the revenue through. So that was a bit tricky. But we navigated through that as a team, as a business, and me individually, a few sleepless nights. But we've turned the corner, and yeah, the last 4 months has been great, and looking the same heading into now this last quarter towards Christmas with double interest rates drops since then, James. And what else has happened? And the government's announcement, obviously, with the new reforms around first home buyers grants. You and I know it's a big election campaign almost what they've done, because all they've done, unfortunately, is drive the prices of property up.
Yep. Yep. It's so true, right? And there's so many things that are around that to unpack. And I think going through a breakup with the business partner, it's obviously, it's a learning, it can be a later, it could also be a challenging time, but also navigating it through that. And then coming then into an election quarter, it's so interesting, the psychological aspect that investors have around that, of sitting on their hands and not wanting to do anything and just sitting and waiting. But I think that's also a great opportunity to lean in and get things done because of everyone else. The people are zigging and everyone else should be zagging, really. Would that be a fair call?
Absolutely, but you and I know that because
Yeah. Try and tell that to everyone else.
And we try to explain that to people, but ultimately, let's be fair, they have to move when they're feeling comfortable. And that's really important for us. We find if they come in uncomfortable or a bit nervous, they become quite tricky clients. They hesitate to make decisions on great opportunities and deals. So yes, of course, sometimes it is a great time. That was a really good time to jump in the market. And obviously clients did, and they've done very well. Markets like Melbourne, where people were poo-pooing Melbourne, but we got in there early 18 months ago, and now it's becoming slowly the flavour of the month. Hasn't quite hit the headlines yet, but it's not far off.
That's great. That's great. One of the topics I want to cover today is we have a lot of real estate agents and principals and directors listening to the show, and it's around getting them to invest. I see a lot of the time that they will go out and buy a nice suit or upgrade their car or even upgrade their own house where they're living or whatever it might be, or the European trip. But when you look at their investment portfolio, it's crickets. And it's right. It's a really interesting to look at it from a sidelines and look into the industry, how this perception is of needing to upgrade or needing to get the latest and greatest, thinking that's going to get them the next bit of business, but not thinking about the long term. Why do you, like, from your view of the world and from where you see it, and obviously dealing with so many clients, why do you think those within the industry that we work within aren't actually taking this and these opportunities because they're in the industry?
That's a really good question. There's probably a couple other industries are similar in terms of don't even appear on the top 10 or 20 occupation list that the ATO put out there for investors. Another one is tradies.
True.
Particularly you think back, it was a very cash heavy environment. And so tradies have the toys, the jet skis, the nice couple of, what do you call it? 4 Rangers in
the boat on the back.
The boat on the back, but they have a nice home, but they're not investing properly because obviously they're not attractive to the banks. It's all about serviceability. So they're only earning 80K, which is probably what they're showing to the bank. It's a bit tricky. But on the terms of real estate agent, it's interesting, isn't it? There's some huge statistics about real estate agent and how many, I think it's a very small percentage only earn over $100,000.
Very true. Yeah. And it is it's the top 2 to 3% are earning the majority in 80 to 90% of.
Yeah. And we hear these brands, right? These names, particularly if you're probably more, sometimes I hear them a lot because I'm in the industry and I pay attention to it. But if you're in an area, wherever your home may be, suburban area, you tend to know the top guys, top guys in your area. Yeah, I think a lot of it could be, firstly, they're selling agents. So their focus is just selling property in normally their little neck of the woods.
That's true.
So the ones who do stay and become successful, they tend to stay in areas for decades, potentially become the local expert there. I was just saying to someone the other day how there's a real estate agent local to me, a McGrath agent, and I've been here for 20 years. He calls me every year.
Yeah.
Now he knows I'm in the property market. In the industry, we talk about property a lot, right? But he calls me every year, just hello, you looking to sell a house? And obviously we weren't going to sell a house. We just moved here, but obviously, if we ever got around to selling our home, he'd have to be at the top of our mindset, right?
Definitely.
And what a great agent that thinks so far ahead about the long term that he knows what the average sale, I think, is people live in a house for 8 to 10 years or something. So he knows if I hedge my bets and just keep calling Julian every year for the next decade, he's probably going to use me to help him sell his house.
So true.
And that's a smart agent. But yeah, I think my thoughts are, because there's no real statistics or data to prove anything. One is they become local market experts. They tend to only have a small window off. Now, their lenses aren't really 360 degrees. They're pretty direct in where they live. probably just living. The markets are up and down, so probably just don't have the confidence, or if they're principals, they may be investing back into the business, a bit like what I mentioned to you earlier on. So I think they're more the reasons. And I feel they don't tend to have that, where now the buyer's agency industry has grown so dramatically since when you and I first started talking, that now they're probably actually saying, okay, we don't have to just buy in our backyard or in a suburb I sell in. We can actually buy interstate and build a portfolio without having to live in that house and maybe become a rent investor. And be buzz terms like that are now seeing, that's what we're seeing the growth in our business, rent investors and SMS investing as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Those points are so true. And I want to take one of those points and just around not just agents, but people in general, when they get so micro focused in where the area they're living, compared to having a look at a macro approach across the nation in relations to investing. Where do you think people do get stuck when, and this is obviously why they came to you, but where do people get stuck from taking that micro, oh, I'm just going to focus in my market tonight. Wow, there's all these other markets out across the nation. Where do you think they get stuck around that? Hey guys, just a little side note here. How's it going? Are you on track this year? I know that sometimes this part of the year we can feel like we're in a bit of a grind, a bit of in the trenches. Are you on track from the original plans that you set out for the rest of this year? What I've realized is that with this time of year, we get so distracted and we've got trying to chase so many shiny balls and go down so many rabbit holes. And that's why I created a program called the 90. It's a framework that actually allows you to achieve more in 90 days than ever before. Some of the feedback that we've got from some of the people that have used the process, the 90, is that they've achieved more in 90 days than the whole previous year. So if you'd like to have the tools, have the techniques, have the framework on the 90, so you and your team can achieve more in 90 days than ever before. What it does, it impacts you of how to get clear, what you need to do, and who you need to be to show up in order to achieve the things you want to achieve over the next 90 days. Simply head over to jamesshort.com.au, click on join the waitlist, fill in your details, and one of the team members will be in touch and take you through the 90 framework. On with the show.
I think there's a lot of it's a great topic, isn't it? Everyone loves talking about property. We're both going to barbecues on the weekend. I'm sure it's going to come up, right? I'm not sure about you, but for me, when it comes up, I tend to walk and find an exit, and I just go and grab a beer or something.
How's the weather? Yeah.
I find everyone knows much more about property than I do, and I've been doing it for. We're only buying hundreds of properties a year, looking at thousands. But anyway, what would I know?
Yeah.
So it is a very popular topic. It's one of the great Australian dreams, as we always know, to buy that house with back in the day, the Hills hoist in the backyard and the lawnmower. And I think that's continuing on now as migration's increased and the property market is such a buzz topic on the front news of a paper. We get pullouts on a Sunday paper, right, from Domain, huge glossy magazines all about properties, definitely in the psyche of the Australian public. So I think a lot of it is hot air and buzz, noise. So people like to listen to noise. The amount of people I speak to all the time, they said, oh, my friend said, blah, 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 I should buy in. I'm like, oh, okay. What does your friend do? Oh, he's a gardener, or he's a plumber, or he's a computer scientist. Okay, that's okay. And the reason why I'm asking is obviously, what do they actually know about that area being a good area to buy in? Have they talked about your financial situation? Do they know your serviceability? Do you even have a strategy? What's the plan for retirement? What if your kids are going to private schools after? So these are the points where it's nice to get that advice through the noise around you. But I think most people, that's probably my answer. It's the noise, the clutter that they get stuck and then they tend to bite and buy the high-rise apartments in the Gold Coast or South Bank in Melbourne and then they're stuck for the next decade, not earning any capital growth on that.
I laugh internally when you say that because it is so true. Everyone's got their opinion. My uncle said, or my next door neighbor said, or I heard at a barbecue. Just the other day, I was in Sydney doing some work and catching up with some family. And I was walking with a mate of mine and overheard a lady walking past us on the phone talking about, oh, you should be saying this to your real estate agent and saying this. Oh, okay. Yeah, here we go. There's a classic example of not just investing, but choosing your expert to helping you on your next property journey. And I think when it comes to investing, I think it's so true because everyone has a different story. Everyone has different needs and wants. And as you said, it's like the serviceability, what are their goals? What are the other big things that are coming up in their life? And when you're talking to Bob next door or Jane down the road, you're not going to share all that information with them. You need to have someone like yourself to actually, okay, here's the plan, here's the strategy. This is what is entailed. So I think, yeah, hit the nail on the head around that noise component.
And I think as time goes on, and as 80% of transactions in the US, for example, are done with a buyer's agent and a selling agent, as they call them here, whereas we have been brought up to believe, and no disrespect to real estate agents, but they're the one-stop shop. The seller, they engage the real estate agent to sell their house at the highest price. And for some reason, us buyers have always believed that the real estate agent work for us and they're going to get us a great deal and at the lowest prices. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Because why would they lose money? It's not in their psyche to lose money when they're getting 2% of an X $1 million house. Why would they want to sell it under market value?
So true. Now,
so that's where you have an independent, and it happens in all facets of industry, but to have an independent advisor or advocate to help you do that for you. And I think that's beginning to grow, particularly the great buyers out there who aren't selling stock. When they're doing seminars, run up the back of the room, put your hand up there and grab you off the plan apartment, which is what it's the only thing, they're the only seminars I could have gone to when I was younger trying to learn about it. They weren't the great educators now that we're seeing, and the buyers agent out there be able to give that independent advice on where to buy and why to buy through data, not just through hearsay.
Yeah, and that is so important because I think having it, it's like you're not going to take your car to get fixed to your dentist. So it's looking at the specialties for your specific outcomes in order to achieve what you want to achieve, whatever that may be in life. So I'm a strong believer on that philosophy. You mentioned something there around data and going through your show, which is an amazing show, and you've had some great guests on your show. Can you share with us some of those guests and some of those insights that you've learned where maybe before bringing on that guest, oh, wow, this guest has really opened my eyes, opened my insights on a couple of different topics and a couple of different avenues. What are some of those guests and what are some of those things that you've learned from them?
Because I'm only up to episode 17. I'm only up to episode 17, James. Yeah, compared to you on a couple of hundred, I feel like I'm still on that growth stage. But yeah, I have been lucky. I've been obviously being in the industry for quite a long time, being able to meet a lot of great people along my journey and reaching out to them now to help them, to allow them to share their stories personally, but also their business stories with our listeners is exciting. Probably a few come to mind. I shouldn't pick anyone out because all 17 so far have been really enthralling. But I guess a couple that really stick out because they're a little bit different in what they do. One would be probably Evan Lucas, a demographer. Some people may know of Evan if you're into sort of demography and data. He's on 2GB, on Channel 9, on ABC. So he's quite well known in that spectrum. And he's really drilling down on data and talking about demographics of people, where people go, how they live, education, how areas gentrify over time. So these are questions, like you said, we talked about what you hear from your friend at the barbecue. There's no way they're going to get to that level of detail.
So true.
So it was really interesting to hear Evan talk about that. He really got fired up about the bank of mum and dad. Yes. And there's a negative connotation around the bank of mum and dad, but he was like, we shouldn't be like that. We should encourage that. And if parents can help their kids get a ladder, let's encourage it. Let's not the Australian way, which knock that down and have that tall poppy syndrome. We should allow that to happen and get people into the market. If parents have got some equity there, instead of waiting till, unfortunately, they pass away. And by that stage, kids are maybe in their 40s or 50s at that stage.
Yeah, very true.
So he was really interesting around that. Dan Argent, which is not really from a data perspective, but Dan Argent is the CEO of UrbanX, founder, a real estate agency. He was great about branding. And so Dan's all about, why are you guys all working under, no disrespect, Ray White or Lang & Simons or whatever it might be, and then it's Ray White and then it's got James Short and a really small font down the bottom, right? Yep. Even though you're the local legend, let's say, in your area. And he's all about, it should be James Short Realty powered by Ray White. That's never going to happen. So his business, UrbanX, is that case. He's pushing these great agents to come out from behind the curtain, so to speak, and push their own brands and push it under the UrbanX. UrbanX offer that whole ecosystem to assist agents with marketing and sales and technology. But I loved his concept around branding, and even following him on socials, he's always talking about branding, which even in my business, it's a great reminder to ensure you get yourself out there and talk about the business, yes, but also the personal brand is important as well.
So true. So true.
I think the most recent one, I don't know if you've heard that one, James, was with Matt Dochich.
Yes.
He's the CEO and co-founder of Hashtag.
Interesting.
Wow. He's the to me, one of the leaders or the leader in real estate data. Most of the top agents would all be, our buyers agents particularly, would be using Matt's data to assist us in navigating areas. And I was fortunate to, and he said, we've been kicking around together for quite a while. And in the early days, particularly, and always intrigued in data. I come from a marketing background. Data was really important to me about customer segmentation and where people are buying and how we could attract more customers for our clients. So yeah, it was a natural thing for me to attract to Matt, and he's just such a good guy. And it was funny when we met. It was like we gave each other a hug. We haven't actually ever met each other. It's been like we've been talking together a long time, but we've never met. So it was pretty cool felt like you're talking to a long lost friend, even though we've never met. Him talking about data in the level that he gets to, he's talking about thousands and tens of thousands and then hundreds of thousands of data points that he's analyzing to assist us. Now, he's not saying, and I'm not saying it's perfect, but it certainly beats having just a guess and a crack at, maybe I should buy in Canberra or maybe I should buy in Hobart because that's what John said at the barbecue. We're backing our opinions with data, tell information that we give to our clients on every day and every property that we present. But also for me, looking forward, in the past have worked with Matt. We got into Perth early. In 2021, people thought we're crazy. Perth hasn't grown in 10 years and you're buying in Perth. Melbourne, He made a joke about it on the podcast that I remember talking about Melbourne with him. And you've got to go there. I'm like, mate, Melbourne's in trouble. It's got no money. And he said, no, Julian, trust me. And then we spent some time looking at the data together. And yes, 18 months ago, we entered that market and it's proven to be a real success story. And I don't think it's hot yet. It's still warm. We got in there and bought so much property already. The clients that have got that and holding on are going to succeed. So they're probably the three guys that really stand out around data. Yeah.
Fantastic. And so what's coming up for you? Spring has sprung, things are starting to pick up for yourself and it's all systems go. What's the rest of the year look like and what's 2026 and anything on the horizon around that?
Yeah, good question. I guess I haven't started planning for 26 yet. That will come. We've got some strategy sessions coming up as a business and a team. But this next quarter is really consolidating on that hard work that we put in to get through that quieter period in that first quarter of the year, which we normally traditionally start fast. I hate playing catch up. So I always was big on starting fast. It's always been a bit of a term I've used every year as a bit of a theme at the beginning of the year, start fast. And so that didn't happen this year. But it's interesting that, okay, that's fine, but we've been able to now to pick up momentum. So it's to carry that momentum through, James. And we've put in some new processes, some new buyers agents in the business as well, trying to get a bit more efficient, but still increasing the client experience and satisfaction, which is probably a big deal for us. Sometimes I get asked in podcasts, James, what would you do different in your business? And I actually started the business and focused on the whole customer experience back end because coming from a marketing, particularly a loyalty marketing background, that's what we did, right? Customer engagement was core to me. And I think it's in my blood because my first career was in 5-star hotels and airlines. So it was just all about customer service. We built that out before we built out the sales process, actually. But yeah, doubling down on that. And that's proven again, 7 years down the track, it's something that you can't prove early on. 80% of our clients are now referrals, James.
Fantastic.
And that's 75%, awesome. I think it's 75 or so % of our clients have 2 or more properties.
Wow.
So that's a real
great testament.
It's a real testament. As an owner, you don't take that for granted, and I get so pleased and happy, and I'm so grateful to people when they refer their friends and family to us because, wow, that's a big compliment to us in what we're doing.
Well done. That's fantastic. And you can really see it in your level of service. You can see it in the repeat business. You can see about the business buying clients coming back and obviously that referral repeat business. So well done. Congratulations. Julian, really appreciate for you to be on the show. Listeners, go and check out on his show. Jump on his YouTube. Where else is the show? That's where I've been watching your show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm a bit more YouTube, but it's on my usual channel. So Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, and also obviously Amazon.
Fantastic. Julian, thank you for being on the show. Really appreciate it and looking forward to getting you back shortly.
Thanks, James. I appreciate your time and look forward to catching up.